An elegant marble sculpture of a woman looking softly downwards towards the earth is hidden behind a thin mesh curtain, followed by golf balls violently careening towards her, as she is only spared from the harsh blows because of the curtain. This is our introduction to three-iron, a game of golf, meant for the purpose of relaxation, being used as a weapon against natural beauty and art. Has there ever been a more perfect metaphor for the harsh realities of womanhood? Elegance that must create a barrier to shelter itself from the violence of man's aggression. A lonely soul with a motorcycle wanders empty streets, almost as though the town he lives in is inhabited by ghosts. He leaves flyers on door handles to see if they are collected the following morning. If they remain on the handle, he breaks into the home, but not with intent to rob, but rather to exist from the family's luxuries. Never to exploit their material possessions, but rather to engage in their routines. His vacation from life is to partake in what we view as monotony, and for their unknown hospitality he does menial tasks around the house for them. The washing of clothes, fixing broken items, watering plants, and always leaving their residence better off than when he first arrived. Our humble home intruder never says a word. He simply drifts through life enjoying momentary pleasures, without accruing any of his own. Besides his motorcycle and a camera he uses to capture photos of himself with the family photos of the houses he occupies, as he takes pleasure in the remedial tasks of day-to-day life. We are shown one of the families whose house he had drifted through, and they use words, but their words seem callous and malicious in intent. They live in what our protagonist considers luxury, yet seem dissatisfied with it. The family's vacation away from the routine is hell to them, but the routine is equally painful. While our protagonist's vacation is merely existing in their normality, the mother then asks to be shot, as her son holds what she believes to be a broken BB gun in front of her face. And she gets exactly what she asked for, as our protagonist, Tae-suk, had fixed the toy gun. He moves on to his next house, unaware that an abused wife remains hidden in the walls of the home. She is aware of his presence, however, and she dances through the house while watching his routine. Her husband calls and leaves a message on the answering machine, where he asks why she is so unsatisfied, and blames her for the acts of violence that she wears across her bruised face. Tae-suk carefully constructs a humble meal while she watches his motions in hiding, and then he moves on to taking care of the couple's laundry and watering their plants, and finally using the three-iron from the opening scene to whack golf balls at a target. But now the statue of the woman is no longer framed as the target, but is off to the side. He has a bath and casually flips through a book of nude artistic images of the wife. Sun-hoo and unsuccessfully attempts to fix their bathroom scale, as there is an imbalance within the home. And as he goes to bed and proceeds to masturbate to the photos, she confronts him without words. As her husband calls yet again, this time even more threatening than the first. She answers but says no words, replacing them with a shattering scream. She is a specter within her own home, and her house guest leaves. Tae-suk contemplates what to do and decides to go back to communicate with the battered woman, not with words, but with actions. She lays shattered and crying in her tub, as Tae-suk picks up her garments, lays out new clothing for her, and puts on soft music to let her know of his return. And with the rolling of a golf ball, he invites her to join him. The three-iron is being used as a symbol of peace and harmony, but her husband comes home and interrupts their playful game, and immediately scolds her for pointless reasons and berates her for the way she is dressed. He half-heartedly apologizes and says "I love you" to her, but her cold response back immediately ignites him into violence, as he verbally abuses her and attempts to rape her, treating her as a possession who must attend to his base desires on a whim. Tae-suk grabs the three-iron and begins whacking balls at the target to get the husband's attention, and then turns the balls towards him and uses the formerly playful three-iron as a weapon. Tae-suk and Sun-hoo lead together on his motorcycle, and he continues his routine of putting flyers on doors. They go to their next borrowed home, where she sees a nude photo of herself on the wall as he fixes their clock. She removes the photo from its frame and cuts it into perfect squares to reassemble back into the frame. Her beauty is not meant to be seen simply on the surface, but rather in the rhythms of her eyes and heart, and she is next seen taking care of the family's washing as she has adapted Tae-suk's simple way of life, and the two of them share a meal. They say nothing to each other, but are in sync, as she slides herself into his ritual of taking photos, and they move on to their next home. He fixes a CD player at the next home, and she has him cut her hair. A mild moment of intimacy that also allows for her to shed her former life. They relax and live within the moment while watching boxing on their borrowed television, a sport known for its violence, but also its beauty and technique. They drink alcohol and she begins to cry, to which he comforts her, but while they are asleep, the owners of the home return and Tae-suk is brutally beaten with boxing gloves. The tranquil event they had enjoyed has now become a violent act on them, and now it is Sun Hu who comforts him and his bruises. Everywhere in the city they go they seem to be alone as two lost souls wandering the empty streets. He has brought the 3-iron and a golf ball tethered to a wire to whack around while they drift, and as he swings the club, Sun Hu challenges him and steps in front of the ball. She is challenging him to understand the violence behind the motion, and that everything that is beautiful is also capable of violence. She wants to better his passivity and to understand the duality of the tool and of himself. He does not listen, however, and as he strikes the ball, it breaks free from the tether and strikes a vehicle, hitting and violently injuring the passenger, and all he can do is run away and cry because of the damage he has done, and she is left to comfort his conscience. At the next home they share a glass of tea together, and she slowly attempts to create intimate touch with him as she rubs his foot with hers, and then they kiss. Their love is honest, and although there is no word said, there is a beautiful musicality to their lives, as they lay wrapped in each other's warm and tender embrace. There is a man who has died, and a dog at the next home they visit, and they give the man a proper burial, as they wash him and carefully package him, atonement for the crime he had committed with his golf ball. They continue with the normal routine of cleaning the house and fixing the fan, but as they are having a meal together, the owner's children arrive, and Tao-suk is accused of the murder of their father and the kidnapping of Sun Hu, and is sent to prison while the woman is sent back to her prison, that is her husband, and the sculpture on her lawn is now of a woman grieving and being consoled by 2 other women. The statue is and has been a metaphor for her. Sun Hu's husband attempts to mend their relationship by being artificially kind to her, but she is indifferent to his false sincerity and pulls away from his touch. He believes that by not forcing himself on her and supplying her family with money, that makes him a good person, as though he has bought the right to her body and mind, and that she should be grateful that he is so kind to her. He uses that money to buy off the police so that he may whack golf balls at Tao-suk, which Tao-suk takes with strength and acceptance as he understands the punishment. While in prison, he continues to do his daily routines, including whacking the golf ball, but is existing instead through his imagination. But he still needs to come to terms with his misguided violence, as he attacks a fellow inmate for jokingly stealing his non-existent golf ball, and Tao-suk is put into solitary confinement, where his new game is attempting to become invisible to the guards, and he is stripped of his food privileges for his efforts. He is giving up his worldly privileges in order to gain invisibility, to lose his shadow and free himself of negative impulse and the need for worldly possessions. His passivity angers the guards so greatly that he feels the need to beat Tao-suk. There must always be a balance between good and evil. He finds peace in meditation and freeing his mind, and learns to control his body and motion. His freedom of self liberates him from his suffering, and he has turned what was once a fist into an all-seeing eye. And just like that, he is invisible and gone. He has freed himself from his shadow, free from the prison of his mind and the actual prison he is confined in, and the man responsible for his sentence is attacked by a hail of golf balls. His penance must be paid for his acts of violence. The husband keeps attempting to be intimate with Sun Hu, and as she rebuffs him, his anger is seen boiling under the surface, as she turns to drinking heavily, and his violence bursts through as he strikes her. But this time she hits back. Sun Hu attempts to fix the scale, but is equally unsuccessful. She ventures out of her prison and quietly invites herself into the home where she first made love to Tao-suk, and sits in the chair where they share tea, and falls asleep while the owners of the home tend to their garden and pond. They are tranquil and peaceful people. They have allowed her to exist within their world, and are indifferent towards their own possessions, but instead embrace her presence as a gentle blessing upon their home. She graciously bows and leaves their tranquil home and returns to her husband, and the statue of her is back to being behind the target as he attempts to control her once again. Continuing with her routine, she hand washes their laundry, and her husband questions why she doesn't use the washing machine. He doesn't understand the value of finding peace in hard work. The balance of life, the beauty of seeing a clean garment, is knowing that your hands have cleansed it of its dirt. Tao-suk returns to the home of his beloved and drifts unseen like a ghost, drifting through the empty space and only coming out to be with Sun Hu. She says "I love you," and her husband believes it is directed at him, but it is not, and as he hugs her, she reaches out for Tao-suk, and they kiss over the husband's shoulder. He is living within a world free of possession, and only taking the love that he needs. The husband, believing her happiness is because of him, also seems to have made peace with himself. Tao-suk playfully attempts to hide from Sun Hu, and she backs him into a corner and catches him pressed between a photo of herself and her actual body, as she sees him always. They are truly devoted to each other, and the two of them stand on a scale, and the scale is weightless. They have found their harmony.
to